Hello students. Till now we have studied about the Planck's theory, about the various postulates of Bohr model, that how Bohr model tried to overcome the limitations of Rutherford, not that he was not able to explain the stability of atom and the hydrogen spectrum. So now in today's lecture we are going to discuss about the successes of Bohr model. So one of the most important thing that the Bohr model has explained is the stability of atom. Previously in Rutherford, the condition that the atom can collapse by the spiral motion of the electron when it would be losing the energy. That this thing was very well overcome by the Bohr model, and according to Bohr model of hydrogen atom, an electron revolving in a particular orbit cannot lose energy as the stationary orbit concept was given, and therefore the emission of radiation is not possible until the electron remain in its energy level, and hence there is no cause of instability in the Bohr's model. So the term stationary state was explained by Bohr that it was not the electron which is stationary, it is the energy level which is having a particular discrete value. The term quantized was also explained in the Bohr model. Now, when we are talking about the stability of an atom, Bohr model also explains successfully the atomic spectra of hydrogen atom, which was not explained in the Rutherford model. So the two main limitations of the Rutherford model was very well overcome by the Bohr's model. The second, Bohr concept of atom explained successfully the atomic spectra of hydrogen atom. When the electron is in the normal state, it is considered to be the ground state. Okay, and when the electron gains energy, it jumps to any higher level, higher energy level, and at that time it is said to be in the excited state. So we can see in the diagram here also that how the electronic movement is taking place. In the first case, let's see in the first case, the energy radiation of a particular frequency is given to the electron. The electron get excited from the inner level to the outer level, that is from the inner level E1, it get excited to the higher level E2. So if we are mentioning it as E2 and the inner one as E1, so by getting and absorbing the energy of a particular frequency, the electron get excited from the normal or the ground state to the excited state. So now the same case occurs if we are having the electron releasing the energy. That is, if we are taking the example that electron is in the higher energy state, that is E2, and on losing the radiations, that is the frequency, particular frequency radiation it is losing, then after emitting out the energy radiations, it get de-excited and comes back to the original, that is the E1 level. So in both the cases, what we see is that the delta E directly proportional to nu, that is the frequency of the energy or radiation which is either absorbed or it is emitted. The first is the case when we are talking about the absorption, and the second is the case when we are talking about the emission. So in the first diagram we can see the electron is getting excited, but in the second diagram it is very well seen that the electron is getting de-excited. Now this excited state is unstable state, and the electron tries to come back to the normal or the ground state. This is also one of the very important postulate given by Bohr and is considered as the success of Bohr model. Now some of the other important concepts that are related to the Bohr model are, the Bohr model gives various formulas for energy, for momentum, for radii, velocity, the various formulas that were explained by using the Bohr's theory, which are considered the success of it. Bohr theory helped in calculating the energy of the electron in a particular orbit, that is the stationary state of it. So if the electron is in any particular orbit, it is represented, the particular orbit is represented by a principal quantum number 1, 2, 3 or 4, which previously we used to call as KLMN. So in the beginning, the formula given was En is equal to minus 2 pi square Me4. Z square is taken when we are talking about the hydrogen-like species. But if we are talking about hydrogen, then in that case Z is taken as 1. But if we are talking about hydrogen-like species, for example, He positive, it is also 1 electron species. Then in that case, we are going to put Z is equal to 2. If we are taking lithium 2 positive, then in that case, Z is equal to 3. So Bohr model was explained basically for hydrogen atom, but for the hydrogen-like species also, the formula get converted into En is equal to minus 2 pi square Me4Z square upon N square H square. Till now, you must be very much familiar with M, that is the mass of electron, E charge, Z is the atomic number, N is principal quantum number, and H is the Planck's constant. If we are substituting all these values, we get En is equal to minus 1312 Z square upon N square, and this time it is given in kilojoule per mole. If we are calculating it into joule per atom, then En is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 Z square upon N square when we are talking in joule per atom. There are various other ways also. In electrovolt also we can represent it, but in most of the numericals we are using the value En is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 Z square upon N square. And in case of hydrogen atom, we are going to put Z is equal to 1. So the Bohr's model does not get limited only to the calculation of energy. It also helps to calculate the radii of the particular orbits also. So in case of stationary states, the radii, the formula used for the radii is, Rn is equal to A naught N square. And what is A naught here? A naught is equal to 52.9 picometer. What is picometer? 10 to the power minus 12 meter. So our radii of any of the nth orbital is taken as A naught N square, and A naught is 52.9 picometer. If we are talking about the Bohr's first orbit, then N is equal to 1. So R, the formula for radii becomes 52.9 picometer. In that case, it is considered as the Bohr's radius. So if when N is equal to taken as 1, then the R1 is equal to 52.9 picometer. But if we consider again, not only for hydrogen, if we are considering for hydrogen-like species, then in that case, the formula gets a little bit changed because we have to include the Z also. Z, what is Z? The atomic number of that element. So the formula get divided by Z. A naught N square upon Z. This formula is used only in case we are talking about hydrogen-like particles, that is, which are having a single electron. So the Bohr model was very much successful in calculating energy, radii, angular momentum also. MVR is equal to NH upon 2 pi. It is the integral multiple. So now coming to the next application part of it, the next thing about the Bohr's model, it helps to deduce the Rydberg formula. Now here comes the Rydberg formula. Till now, when we are talking about the hydrogen spectrum, the Rydberg value is given as 109677 in centimeter inverse it was taken. But later on, the Rydberg formula was also applied while we are calculating the energy, the frequency, the wave number. Now with the help of the Rydberg formula, that is we were using in hydrogen spectrum, we can also calculate the energy when the electron changes it changes from E1 to E2 or E2 to E1. That is, it is getting jumped from from one shell to the other shell. So it helps to find the energy of electron in nth shell of hydrogen atom, and also for the jump of electron from final level N2 to the initial level N1. So this formula also helps to find the difference in energy. Previously what we were using, we were calculating the energy of nth shell, but now we can also calculate the energy difference also, that is the difference between E1 and E2. So when we calculate delta E, that is E2 minus E1, delta E is equal to E2 minus E1. Then substituting the value of E2 and E1, we get a simplified formula, that is delta E is equal to RH 1 upon N1 square minus 1 upon N2 square, or we can say that delta E is equal to RH 1 upon N initial square minus 1 upon N final square. So what is the value of RH here? The value of RH is 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18. As we are calculating, the unit used is joule. Now let us suppose we have to find the frequency also. Now if we have calculated the energy, we can easily calculate the frequency also. The frequency that is associated either with absorption, we have just seen the diagram, either with absorption or with emission, because the change in energy is directly dependent upon the frequency of light radiation that is either absorbed or is either emitted. So we know that delta E is directly proportional to frequency. Delta E is directly proportional to frequency. The Bohr frequency formula is used here. So nu is equal to delta E upon H. Substituting the value of delta E from the above equation, we can get as RH upon H 1 upon N initial square minus 1 upon N final square. So substituting the above formula in the lower frequency formula, we get 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 divided by the value of Planck, 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34, 1 upon N1 square minus 1 upon N2 square, or you can use initial minus final also. So if we divide 2.18 with the Planck's value, 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 8, that is the Rydberg value, with the Planck's value, we get 3.29 into 10 to the power 15, 1 upon initial N1 initial square minus 1 upon N final square. And since it is frequency, its unit is Hertz. So with the help of Rydberg formula, we can calculate the energy and the change in energy. With the help of Rydberg formula, we can calculate the frequency that is associated with absorption and emission of photon. And along with this, we can also calculate the wave number. All of you must be remembering the term wave number that we have studied in hydrogen spectrum, that wave number is equal to 1 by lambda. So wave number can also be calculated by using your frequency and speed formula. Previously, you were also using C is equal to nu lambda. Okay. So if we have to calculate the wave number, that is C by nu is equal to lambda, or 1 by lambda is equal to nu by C. It should be very clear to you people how we are calculating 1 by lambda. 1 by lambda is here now the nu bar. So nu bar, that is equal to 1 by lambda, is calculated by taking frequency upon the speed of light. Now the value of frequency is calculated from the above formula. See, we always know that it is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So substituting all these values, we again get the same formula as we have got in case of hydrogen spectrum, that is 109677 if we are talking in centimeter inverse, or 1.09677 into 10 to the power 7, 1 upon N1 square minus 1 upon N2 square, or 1 upon N initial square minus 1 upon N final square. So if we are using 1.09677 into 10 to the power 7, then it is given in meter inverse. We must be very particular about the units also, because a change in unit can make your answer in decimal places change. So very much particular about the values and also about the units. Now with all these benefits, that is all these usefulnesses that we have done, that is Bohr helps in calculating the stability, explaining the stability of atom. Bohr explained successfully the spectrum, atomic spectrum of hydrogen atom. Bohr helped in calculating and empirically putting the various energy formulas, radii, angular momentum for hydrogen as well as hydrogen-like species, and also using the Rydberg terms Rydberg formula was applied to calculate the change in frequency when the electron is jumped from the lower energy level to the higher energy level, or it is getting ionized. So with lot of usefulnesses, Bohr model was having a success in explaining the stability and spectrum, but still there are certain things left which were not explained by the Bohr model, which are considered the limitation part of Bohr. So let's have a look about the limitation of Bohr. So one of the limitation of the Bohr atomic model and its theory are, Bohr theory did not provide any clue to explain the shapes of the models and the molecules, the shapes of the various molecules. The different molecules are existing in different shapes. So it was not explained by Bohr that how these shapes are specified and how the directional bonding is possible in between them. Then the other limitation of it is, after the Bohr model, the Heisenberg, the de Broglie, various concepts have arisen. But in the Bohr model, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle that we will be dealing in the next lecture of ours is violated in the Bohr's concept. The Bohr atomic model was explaining the radius, was explaining the orbits, angular momentum, position, all the things were explained by Bohr at the same time. But according to Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it is impossible to calculate the position, the momentum, and the velocity of the moving subatomic particle at the same time. So Bohr was calculating all these things at the same time, but later on, when the Heisenberg uncertainty principle came into light, these things were considered the impossible part, that we cannot calculate all these things simultaneously. So the Heisenberg uncertainty principle was violated according to the Bohr's concept. Now the third limitation of the Bohr model, the Bohr atomic theory made correct prediction for the smaller size. That is, for hydrogen atom, it is very well explained. But when we consider about the other larger atoms, the poor spectral predictions were there. It was not properly explained in case of larger atoms. Now, one of the very important defined part here, Bohr model was not able to explain the Siemens effect. So what is Siemens effect? Siemens effect is spectral lines splitting. That is the splitting of spectral lines when we are having the presence of magnetic field. So Bohr model was not able to explain why the spectral lines are splitting when the magnetic field is applied. And similarly, he was not able to explain the Stark effect. These are usually one marker question. What is Siemens effect? What is the Stark effect? These are the limitations of Bohr model, that Bohr was not able to explain the Stark effect. In the Stark effect, there is splitting of spectral lines, but when there is presence of electric field. So Bohr model was not able to explain neither about the Siemens effect nor about the Stark effects. So with these limitations, we came to the other various different concepts, that is Heisenberg, de Broglie. So various different concepts and principles have arisen after the limitation of Bohr model. So in this lecture, what you have done is the success and limitations of the Bohr model, and how the difference in energy, the frequency, the angular momentum, the wavelength, wave number, all these things are calculated empirically using the Rydberg formula. So in the another video that we will be making, we will be dealing about the various numericals based on today's concept. So till then, revise the topic very thoroughly. Thank you.